Hello everyone. In the last video we talked about for loop, and now we will be discussing about the other type of loop called the while loop. Now, while loop repeats a section of a code possibly unlimited times. So the difference between the for loop and the while loop is you can use the for loop if you don't know how many times you want to run the code. Like if you want to keep running your code unlimited times, then while loop is what you should use. But if you know how many times you want to run that code, then you use for loop. So you see, while some conditions remain true, that is the only time the while loop will run. If the conditions are not true, it's not going to run. And also, like it says here, while some conditions remain true, a while loop might not even execute at all. That is, if the condition is not met, the while loop may not even run, and we are going to see that in action. So let's replicate the same loop we did for the for loop. Let's replicate it using a while loop. So to write a while loop, first you set you set your variable, okay? So we want to use an integer. Let's call it I. So we've initialized it. Then now you write the keyword for the while loop, which is while, then open bracket, then curly brackets. Now let's begin. So what do we want to do with this while loop? Let's assume we want to print out numbers from 1 to 20. So let's go. We say I should be less than or equal to 20. So this is for the conditional. So while this I, okay, while this I is less than equal to 20, what do you want to do? This is what we want to do. We want to print all the numbers, okay? So we say number, format specifier for integer. Then what are we printing? The variable I, okay? If I run this script like this, there will be a problem. You know why? Because let's do it. Let's see what happens. You know, sometimes it's just better to run it than talking. So I'm going to run this code. So you see what has happened? The code is running unlimited, zero number, zero number, zero number, zero. So I have to pull out, because what has happened now is our code is just running repeatedly. Let me put, sorry, I forgot to put okay. So let me stop the code from running. So that's the problem. If you run this script wrongly, you're going to get an infinite loop. It's called an infinite loop. You don't want an infinite loop. So I'm trying to get my computer out of the infinite loop now. Okay. All right. So guys, bear with me. So if your computer system has a very low memory, you're going to have problem with this guy, because your loop is going to run infinitely. Okay, so I'm trying to stop mine now. So for you to prevent that, you have to set an increment, okay, just like what we did in the for loop. So the increment is what is going to prevent it from running infinitely. So I can run it again, and as you can see, it has performed correctly. So let me put in the new line. So if you, let me clear this. So you see, our loop has run correctly now from 0 to 20. If I don't want this 0, I can set I to be equal to 1 here. And we rerun it. And now it starts from number 1 to 20. So let me risk it again. I want you to see the importance of putting the increment. So let me remove the increment again. Let's run into trouble. If your computer is slow or does not have a good memory space, please don't do this, because it's going to freeze your system, okay? So watch what happens. I've removed the increment and I'm going to run our loop, but it's going to run infinitely. So let's go again. See, number 1 is infinite. It's infinite. It keeps running. It's running infinitely. So I have to stop it now. I have stopped it now. Okay. So always ensure that you have your increment set to prevent an infinite loop. That is one of the problems with the while loop. If not, you will run into issues. Okay, so there you have it again. So with the while loop, you can print anything, and as you can see, I've been able to replicate what we had in the for loop with the while loop. So that's that on the while loop. I see you in the next one.